Hey everyone, this is Dr. Chris with Radio of Horror from 91.3 FM WCW and radioofhorror.wordpress.com, and welcome to my first of 5 separate video reviews here on YouTube for Supernatural. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go over the reviews of all 10 box sets. And we will also be discussing the anime show. Now we're not gonna get into super duper episode analysis and stuff like that. This video will only be covering seasons 1 and 2. We are going to go over some of the highlights of season 1 and 2. We're going to go over some of our favorite episodes, and we're going to discuss what the bonus material on the DVDs contain. Season 1 begins with the death of Mary Winchester as her husband, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan from, Watchmen and a bunch of other really cool movies, is rushing Sam and Dean out of the house. Then they fast forward, and Dean comes to college looking for his brother Sam, who's been at college now for a few years. There was a big family falling out, so Sam went off to college. And this sets up the groundwork for most of the first season, pretty much all of the first season, is that Dean can't find their dad, and he went on a hunting trip, never came home. What you find out later on is he was hunting the yellow-eyed demon, the same demon that killed Sam and Dean's mother. When Sam returns from college, his girlfriend, Jessica, is found dead on the ceiling, engulfed in flames, the same way that Mary Winchester was. So Sam and Dean then begin on this trek to find out what happened to their mom. Now, Sam and Dean evolve a lot over the course of the season. Like, Dean's voice really goes from being this, "Hey, Sammy," to this, "Hey, Sammy, I am talk like this." And he even makes fun of his voice in season 6 in an episode we'll get to when we get to season 6. The other way is the videos are going to go seasons 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10. And we'll cover the anime show in this video, by the way. Sam and Dean go on a hunt to find their mom, find their dad, and find the killer of their mom. And this is where we learn about a lot of the staples of the show, like the Impala as being this really important figure on the show. They go back to Lawrence, where they're from. They go back to the house that they used to grow up in. They even get to meet the ghost of their mom, and they encounter several adversaries along the way, such as Meg. There's an episode that Sam and Dean separate. Sam and Dean, by the way, separate a lot on the show, and we're going to go over that every single time they do, because it's so stupid. They get into a big fight, they separate, they're at each other's throats, they hate each other, and they get back together. It's so dumb. It happens all the time. Every season, almost. Might skip it during the third season. It's really short, but we'll get there. This is the same episode, by the way, that Dean fights a scarecrow, living deity scarecrow thing. It's kind of cool. It's one of the more memorable villains of the show, even though he appears in one episode. This season, they took a lot of urban legends, so they fought like Bloody Mary and the Hookman and stuff like that, which was cool, but it was kind of running its course when it just seemed like it was a monster of the week ghost story every 5 minutes, and people were getting kind of tired of that after a while. I kind of left the show for a little bit and then eventually came back. Eventually they catch up with their father, and he tells them that he's caught up with the demon they were hunting. Towards the end of the season, we also meet Bobby Singer, who becomes like their surrogate father figure, and Bobby lasts as a character that sticks around for quite some time. He's a big important character for the show. Bobby Singer is also the name of one of the producers of Supernatural, and it's a joke that's pointed out in season 6 by Sam and Dean, which we'll get to when they actually happen to go to the real world where Supernatural is a TV show. But yeah, Bobby Singer is a producer on Supernatural. Edwin Carver is a writer on the show. He gets introduced as Chuck in season 4, another character we will get to eventually as well. It's a running gag on the show that they have several characters named after producers and so on and so forth. I don't remember another show that actually had that many in gags with you watch the credits, but fans obviously picked up on a lot of it because they really analyze every little piece of the show and all the different cast members on the show as well, and that's funny. I actually got a chance to meet the actor who plays Bobby, played by Jim Beaver, and he is a fantastic character. I have always really enjoyed him. They catch up with the Yellow-Eyed Demon after learning the location of the Colt, which is a gun they use that can kill any demon. And this gun is so badass. It's basically like the MacGuffin of the show for a while. It's still on the show once in a while, but it's not as important. But it was like a huge deal in that first and second season. It was a big quest. It was made by a guy named Daniel Colt, who was like a hunter himself. Daniel Colt would use this gun to hunt demons back in the Old West. And Eric Kripke, actually, who was the creator of Supernatural, by the way, would have had ideas to create a Supernatural show set during the Old West. Of course, I'd be remiss to also mention that Sam and Dean are played by Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki, who, of course, would later on, we'll get to a couple movies that they star in around the time of the 4th or 5th season, which is kind of interesting, that they were both in slasher movies at like within a month apart from each other. So you kind of watch those movies and go, oh, this is like Supernatural if Sam and Dean were in it and they fought this guy. And I'm not going to tell you which one, but we'll get there eventually. A couple of the characters that we get introduced to in the season 1 of Supernatural are some of the most fan favorites, and I get to meet them at the upcoming Rhode Island Comic Con, which is really cool. We have Ed Zedmore and Harry Spangler, played by Travis Wester and AJ Buckley, and they're kind of these wannabe horrible ghost hunters that cannot do anything correctly, and what they know about ghosts would fill an atom-sized piece of toilet paper. They are such bumbling idiots, and you just gotta love them. They create a website that allows, called the Hell House, and it allows people to post on the website made-up stories, and the force that people believe these stories to be true is so powerful, it actually brings a manifestation of BS to life. And Sam and Dean got to stop it. It's also one of these practical joke episodes where Sam and Dean keep playing practical jokes on each other, and it's so damn funny. Again, we don't see Ed and Harry Spangler until season 3, but it's great. It's one of the best episodes of the entire season. Rates right up there with the Bloody Mary episode and the Hookman episode. The season 1 is on DVD and Blu-ray. You can pick it up. It's filled with your typical amount of bonus material and weird stuff that you love about DVDs. So on the season 1 for bonus material goodies, you get commentaries on the pilot by Eric Kripke, David Nutter, and Peter Johnson. You get a commentary on Phantom Traveler by Jared and Jensen. You got 2 cool featurettes. I love how the way on season 1 they're called new featurettes when the season had just come out on DVD, so I don't know how new they were compared to season 0. Day in the Life of Jared and Jensen, Supernatural Tales from the Edge of Darkness, and of course one of the most important things about the box sets is the gag reel. The Supernatural gag reels have become super famous. They are so synonymous with the show. They are some of the funnier like little moments throughout the show, and fans love seeing all of the weird stuff that Jared and Jensen go through from seasons 1 through 10. They've been on every single box set, which is fantastic. So we get to the end of season 1, and they catch up with the Yellow-Eyed Demon, and Dad gets possessed, and Sam can't bring himself to kill Dad, and Dean gets really effed up, and the Impala gets hit by a car by the Yellow-Eyed Demon, and they end season 1. What happens then is Sam is got a busted arm, and Dean's in the hospital and meets a Reaper in the beginning. Now this is the beginning of season 2, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Dad, needs to make a deal for his soul to save Dean's life, which he does. So Dean escapes death the first time. Yes, this is a running theme of the show that Sam and Dean escape death. There was another episode in season 1 where Dean escapes death by an old blind prophet or healer is healing people left and right. And actually the episode guest starred Julie Benz, which was really, really cool. Another thing you might want to, I would love to point out, is that the Supernatural has this thing with music. You're going to hear a lot of classic rock, from AC/DC to Guns N' Roses to Bon Jovi to Led Zeppelin. Any classic rock is played on Supernatural. Everything is fair game. But the one song that is synonymous from beginning to end is Carry On My Wayward Son, which is played at the tail end of every single season in the final episode of that season. It is expected by fans. It's the then and now segment. They show you all the highlights of the previous of the season that just happened by playing this famous song by the band Kansas. Sam and Dean hang out at Bobby's house for a little while, and they repair the Impala. And we also learn about Sam's hatred of clowns in an episode. And when the Impala comes back on the show, they play the AC/DC's Back in Black. It's badass and awesome. We meet Gordon, who's a kind of a vampire hunter, but he's a really screwed up vampire hunter. And Dean kind of gets in with him, and he finds out how dangerous he is from Ellen. Ellen is a woman that supposedly John Winchester may have hooked up with, and she has a daughter, Jo. And Jo wants to follow in her father's footsteps and be a hunter, but her mother doesn't want that to happen because John Winchester got her husband killed. And so Ellen's bar becomes the kind of focal point for the show for quite some time. They keep going back to the bar for information, and they go to Bobby's house as well. And eventually, Sam and Dean get arrested by the FBI, and they escape, and they realize they're on the run now from the law. They cannot escape the long arm of the law, as it's finally caught up with them. In the previous season, Dean was mistaken for a shapeshifter, which caused Sam and Dean all sorts of grief. Throughout season 1 and 2, of course, we learn about John Winchester's journal, which, by the way, you can buy. They actually printed a copy of John Winchester's journal. You can find it on Amazon and, the local Barnes & Noble or something. It's really cool. I've used it a lot. Whenever they reference John's journal, I always would break it out and just kind of go through it with the show to be like, oh, okay, so that's what they're talking about. It's literally written like if it was written by John Winchester, and it's a great prequel to the show of Supernatural. It goes over a lot of the events they talk about in backstory, such as like Ellen's dad and meeting with Bobby and Dean and Sam going to college and Dad's fight with Sam. Stuff like that, and the Impala, and right after Mary's death. Really, really cool stuff. And then, of course, they all go over like devil traps and how salt and rock salt will keep spirits out. How iron can, like ward off a ghost temporarily, kind of thing. Silver bullets kill werewolves. All the little cliches. They also mention like the only way to kill a vampire is chopping their head off. It's not a stake through the heart. It's not sunlight. The vampires can walk around in sunlight on the show. Amber Benson, who was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she played the lesbian witch Tara, Willow's girlfriend. She plays a vampire on this show, which is kind of cool. They also had They also had the actress who played Six from Battlestar Galactica on the show. That was really cool. There was an episode where they constantly had to keep going, trying to bring a ghost home, and she didn't realize that she's been dead for a while and her husband's remarried, which is kind of cool. It's an old story, old ghost story. But it was a pretty fan favorite because Battlestar Galactica was at its prime during that time period. And of course, Linda Blair, she guest starred on the show. I had the misfortune of meeting Linda Blair one time. Not a great person. But she was on the show for a couple of episodes. Nothing super big. I thought maybe they'd make a character out of her, but not really. They do have a law enforcement character that helps them out, but that's until later on. Sam and Dean eventually catch up with the demon Azazel, and it's revealed that Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon, has handpicked all these weird children with all sorts of supernatural powers. Now, Sam has had the ability to see visions and stuff because Azazel dripped blood into his mouth as a baby, and his mom kind of recognizes him, which is a plot point we don't get to until season 4 or 5. There's other super special children. One's like a soldier, and one of them is this girl that they encountered before, played by Isabella Rossellini. Catherine Isabel, not Isabella Rossellini. That's wrong. And Sam is killed, and Dean then forfeits his soul to a Crossroads demon, who we learn the king of the Crossroads is Crowley, who's not introduced until season 4 or 5. And he has 1 year left to live. They are able to shoot the yellow-eyed demon. Their dad pops up from hell. He helps brings him down at this giant devil's trap in the middle of nowhere. And the Colt is used as kind of like a key to open up the devil's trap, and all this bad shit gets let out, which is kind of the beginning plot point of season 3, but it's not really carried on that much further. Ellen is there, and Bobby is there. Her bar was burned down by demons, and Dean reveals to Sam that he's got 1 year to live, and that's pretty much the end of it. It's kind of typical Winchester stuff. This is a running theme through the show that Sam and Dean sacrifice the crap out of themselves for their loved one. It's really dumb at times and not all that fantastic. It's a really annoying plot point that a lot of people hate. On the DVD or the Blu-ray, you got unaired scenes. You got a commentary on 3 episodes by series stars and creative team. You have the Devil's Roadmap, an interactive U.S. map guide to urban legends and factoids about the episodes. Jared's original screen test, A Making from Hell, of course, the famous gag reel, and web episode gallery. As the seasons progress onward, the bonus material on the box sets get much cooler. The other thing I want to point out, of course, is the Supernatural anime show. Now, Jared and Jensen voice their respective characters only in the final 2 episodes. Most of the anime show is anime versions of the first 2 seasons. There are weird versions of like Bobby and their dad done that don't look like them at all. The actor who voices Sam is of course, the actors of the anime characters from Japan are the same actors who will voice over Jared and Jensen when the episodes from the CW get transferred to Japan for Japanese audiences. So that is very cool. So Japanese audiences, when they watch the Supernatural, the anime, they recognize them from the actual Supernatural TV series, which is great. Jared and Jensen open up the episodes giving a little bit of synopsis. The anime versions of Jared and Jensen look like anime versions of Jared and Jensen. That was really cool. I thought that was spot on. They got the hair right, their attitude, the mannerism. Even though only one of the actors, of course, voices his anime counterpart. It's still out there. It's on DVD and Blu-ray, and definitely worth checking out. Now, at the end of every episode of the anime show, you also get Kansas's Carry On My Wayward Son, which, of course, is the theme for Supernatural since the first episode. It's been the constant theme running through the show. It's the end and now, then and now theme that we have at the end of every season, and it's like, the fans expect it. We want it. We want that hardcore rock music, 70s, 80s that Dean listens to on his 8 tracks. There's tapes that Sammy points out that this stuff is so old. And of course, Sammy points out in one episode like Bon Jovi, and Dean's like, Bon Jovi rocks on occasion. And it's a great line for a song Dead or Alive, which happens in season 5. But you gotta love the music of Supernatural. It's fantastic, always great. It's some of the best stuff. There's entire the Supernatural Wikia, like a Wikipedia page, lists all the different songs that are played throughout the entire length of the show from seasons 1 to 11. So you can definitely check that out. The Supernatural guides that came out up till season 7 also list every single song that was played. So if you ever want to know the music and create your own Supernatural playlist, you can definitely find all the music online. So you can come back in another week for my season 3 and 4 synopsis of Supernatural, as well as DVD and Blu-ray reviews. This is Dr. Chris's Radio Horror signing off, saying like, subscribe, and check out the next Supernatural review video coming up very soon.